What's up? Welcome to the third theory video. Just jamming here with my sweet Buster Sword. All right. So, let's turn down some of the music. Here we are. Aerith and the future. This is the third video. We are getting close, man, to the release of Rebirth. The demo's out. Not going to give my impressions on that. Love it. I love it. But anyway, here we are, Aerith and the future. Thank you for joining me. And let's get into it. All right. Massive spoilers. Okay, you've been warned. Tons of spoilers here. And predictions and everything else. So if you don't want to get spoiled on the original game, on the remake, and maybe any ideas that I might put forth, you've been warned. 3, 2, 1. Is Aerith really from the future? This seems to be a very common theory from people, is they want to say that Aerith has time traveled, and so has Sephiroth, and she has like gone after him in some way from the original continuity, and they're trying to basically, you know, do a redo, have a rematch this time around. I would just like to check our confidence level about this idea, about Aerith really being from the future, and just see what the evidence suggests. So first, let's recap a little bit. I have other videos, right? So the first two are titled Time Travel and OG FF7 Rebirth Theory, and the other one is called Stagnant Reality. Both those videos are basically required viewing for this one, I would say. I'm just gonna be like kind of assuming you've watched those, right? And I should also just say that, you know, whether or not you agree with my theories, at least you can have this information to come to your own conclusions. And I think that's something that I did really well in that first video on the time travel and original Final Fantasy VII. I just kind of presented lots of stuff and made a lot of connections for people. And you can think what you want about the overall direction of the remake project. The Stagnant Reality as well, there are lots of things in there that you can glean from and use for your own understanding and theories. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with my conclusions on things. Okay. So first of all, just to kind of aid my first video, I talked a lot about the Time Guardian, and I did find this as well, which I thought was kind of cool. When you first enter the room, it flashes this green color, and then you see the mouth come up through the center of the clock. And I was looking really closely at the Harbinger when we defeat it, and its armor that it kind of like creates over itself starts to dissipate, and you start to see some of the sinew and, you know, like connective tissue and stuff. If you look, it's looking up like this. You know, it's kind of like this. And which is really, you know, it just reminded me of the Time Guardian's face coming through the clock. And so if you look at there's the chin right here. It's got kind of a mouth here too. You see that mouth? And it seems to lack a nose and eyes, but it's hard to tell. The image isn't that sharp. But that would be really similar to what the Time Guardian looks like in the OG. That's something I presented in the first video. So it's a little bit of a loose association there, if that's what it's intended to be. But I just wanted to point it out. The next thing is, in the first video I mentioned how they are getting a jump on the info dump at Temple of the Ancients, you know? And this is just another example of that. Look at in this footage here. Cloud says, Sephiroth, you know, where are you? And he says, I am always by your side. In the original game, that is the first time that Sephiroth says, "I am always by your side," or anything like it to Cloud, from at least from what I can recall. And so in Remake, check this out. Who are you? I am your everything, right? And then Cloud is, you know, frightened when he sees that Sephiroth is by his side in this dream that he's having, right? Or communication with his true self, right? So there's another one too here. We can see here.
I ask because I suspect there's soldiers suffering from cellular degradation.
Do not be deceived. You know the truth.
I love this.
Trust in me.
Sephiroth!
Oh, there it is again. You know the truth. Trust in me. I love that. So it's the same kind of thing here. I am always by your side. You know, so they're building up that context, right? That's one of the main things I've been promoting in my videos too, is like this stuff that you see more of, that you're just like, why are they adding that? That wasn't in. It's in the original. It's just they're pushing it more and they're building more context to avoid some of the info dump, right? So there's that too. I just wanted to show that. All this fate destiny crap, you know, it comes off cheesy, right, at the end when Tifa's like, never tried to challenge destiny, and Barrett's like, wouldn't be the first time I spit in Destiny's eye, right? And you're just kind of like, yeah, it's a little corny, a little cheesy, a little on the nose. But in the Rebirth trailers, look, Cloud is saying, planet runs out of energy, it and everything on it dies. And then right after that, you hear Aerith saying, we can overcome our fate. And remember I said in my first video, what is the fate? What is the inevitable end that we're trying to overcome, that Sephiroth even wants to overcome? It is that the planet dies. And then this is inevitable. Remember, Bugenhagen tells us in the OG. Very similar things. Check out my first video if you haven't seen that. So, this just helps to, I think, reinforce a little bit of what I've been talking about from my other videos, is that the fate can be a little corny at times with how they're presenting it, but this was a concept in the OG, and it has to do with the end of the planet. Okay. Also, this is another association that I didn't have time to really go through in my first video because there's just so much stuff to talk about in these videos, but this is a great one in the OG. Check this out. So it's because of that, you know, bleeping pizza that people underneath are suffering. Out of context, it just sounds funny. It's like pizza is making people suffer. Anyway, and the city below is full of polluted air. On top of that, the reactors keep draining up all the energy. Then why doesn't everyone move onto the plate? Probably because they ain't got no money. Or maybe because they love their land no matter how polluted it gets. I know, no one lives in the slums because they want to. It's like this train. It can't run anywhere except where its rails take it. Right? What a great theme and image for Destiny or Fate, right? Right there in the OG. And then we have the same scene, of course, in Remake.
Shinra sucks up Mako while the soil turns to dust. The air fills with smog and the flowers die.
Then leave and don't look back.
So some of the wording's a little different there, right? But it's exactly the same message.
That's what's always worked for me.
Well, that's all well and good, if you're only out for yourself. But the folks down there don't have the luxury of choice, you know?
There's that too. They added that in. They don't have the luxury of choice. Let us defy destiny together, right? Okay. Like, Sephiroth is right. You know? That's what's good about him being the villain.
Like this train, I suppose. There's only one way it can go.
There's only one way it can go. And then, in order to signal to us all of this, you know, like if you thought they were too on the nose with some of their dialogue choices for Fate and Destiny, the whispers, all that. I love how they doubled down on it, actually. Check this out. They doubled down on the entire train metaphor. So the train is on the rails, it can only go one way. And then look at this. Here's Cloud flying through the air. Here's a train. Here's a train completely off the rails, right? It is flying in the air. There's no more rails. And then watch the train. Boom, it's sliced in half. And then Cloud lands all cool, like, right afterwards. Like, yeah, I look cool. Yeah, okay. So it's just... like they double down on the imagery completely. Train is off the rails, slashes it in half, and explodes said train. Right? It's so funny. I love it because it's just like you have to double down. If you're gonna be like that, you got to double down on it, right? That is the best thing you can do. That makes it better. So anyway, I like that they double down on it, even if some people aren't on board, you know, with some of the Fate decisions or whatever. I'm glad they're just leaning into it in that regard. Okay, so now on my second video where I talked about the stagnant reality, there are some other things that I overlooked that subtext brought up, and dude. This was such a good one to help support what I was talking about in that video. This is crazy. Please watch that video if you haven't watched it. But here, check this out.
Justice, honor, freedom, vain indulgences everywhere.
So honor and freedom are vain indulgences, first of all, which is something that Zack represents, right? The price of freedom is steep. And then remember, have your dreams and your honor as a soldier.
Picture it. Picture a world without Shinra, without Mako energy.
Okay, here it is.
A stagnant, impotent world.
Oh, dude. A world without Mako, without Shinra. A stagnant, impotent world. Is that foreshadowing? Is that a hint as to what is happening with Zack's reality, or what Sephiroth's end game perhaps could be? And just look what he says next.
Now picture a natural disaster. Who would help the people?
Picture a natural disaster. Okay, do you see the image I have on screen here? Remember, in some of the Rebirth trailers, we see a massive tornado coming through.
So if we go through that thing, there's no coming back. I don't know what kind of freedom we're buying, but I know it'll cost us.
And there, Barrett's saying, I don't know what kind of freedom we're buying, but I know it'll cost us, you know? And that, to me, fits really well with his conversation with President Shinra, where he says freedom is a vain indulgence, you know? Like, who are the people going to rely on if a natural disaster happens, right? And like, what's this piece? Here it is. There it is. And then the tornado. Boom.
What happened to this place?
What happened to this place? I love that, too. Zack sounds really good. Voice actor sounds great there. What happened to this place? You know, that what happened is, you know, the stagnant, impotent world. You know, that's what I mean, that's what I'm thinking, at least. So pretty cool subtext. I have his little icon there on the screen, if you can see that. You know, thanks, dude, for pointing that out. I really forgot that he says that word, stagnant, right there. So to me, that just really fits with what I've been talking about. It was a pretty exciting find. Okay, now in the Rebirth trailers too, we saw something really new. This is the Gi tribe dudes, and this was really cool. This to me made me super excited. Not just because it's, you know, helps with some of my theories or anything. It's just that I like that they are bringing something like the Gi tribe into the overall context of the story. Check this out.
We ask that you retrieve it, the black materia, key to our oblivion. Please. It alone can liberate us from this endless dream.
Okay. The key to their oblivion is the black materia. And it can end their endless dream. Dude, okay. They are stagnant, right? They're stagnant. So I think that this stagnation is gotta play some kind of role with the life stream and with Sephiroth's plan. And I love that they're bringing the Gi tribe, you know, into this idea and using them as an example of what this looks like. The endless dream. Pretty sweet. I'm, you know, pretty stoked about that. All right. So, now, I have on the screen here the lyrics to Hollow, right? This also, I didn't go over this in my last video. There just wasn't really time. But, you know, this was interesting to me. I can't go through like all the lyrics and everything. It just seems like it's kind of all over the place, first of all. Like, it seems like it's vague enough to mean several things, could be talking about several people, and it seems like it's Cloud's perspective at different points in even the FF7 compilation. So it's like really hard to kind of decipher, in my opinion. But like this, was it all a dream? Will I ever know? And then in the OG, my memory, since when? If everything's a dream, don't wake me. That's a line that he says right after the Temple of the Ancients, and he, you know, and he is, spoiler, attacked Aerith, you know. So, and also, bloody and bruised, brought to my knees, you know, your smiling face to guide my way. That just made me immediately think of Advent Children when he's bloody and bruised, and then he sees all the smiling faces of his friends, and that gives him strength to go on. But the main point I want to make here about Hollow is what the developer said here. Nomura says that he wanted the song to reflect Cloud's state of mind. When they talked about the lyrics, Nojima said that he wanted to do it, and he wrote the original lyrics in Japanese. The provisional title for the song in Japanese was Empty Sky, and the official title became Hollow when it was translated to English. Empty Sky. To me, I was like, oh, that really does fit. First of all, the main character's name is Cloud. You know? So, you know, his name is in the sky. But, and then you have those clips of Sephiroth saying, now in the new Rebirth trailers, fill your hollow heart with rage, right? So, your empty heart or your hollow heart. Not to mention, the image that we have in the Rebirth trailers where Aerith says, this sky, I don't like it, and there's the fissure in the sky, right? And the other instance of her at the highway, she says, you know, terrifying freedom, like a great never-ending sky. You know, this never-ending sky thing too, I know there's other, you know, associations about that with Aerith, but just hear me out for a second. Maybe the never-ending sky is so terrifying, you know, because it's empty, right? And what am I getting at here? Stagnant reality. That's what I'm kind of getting at, right? So check this out. When you die, right, you disperse into the life stream and you go up into the atmosphere, like into the sky. Okay? The image on screen is of Kadaj from Advent Children. Look at going upwards into the sky. Here is Remake, when something dies. Check this out. Sweet.
Not bad.
Not bad. And then they disperse up into the sky, of course. Right, here's the OG. Here is a human, you know, who dies. There's a tree that dies. They disperse into the atmosphere, up into the sky, and travel, you know, around and swell around the planet to create new life in another place of the planet, right? That's kind of how the cycle of life, death, and rebirth is supposed to go. So the point is, you have the life stream going up into the sky, right? And continuing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And Aerith says she doesn't like this sky. And the theme song is called Empty Sky or Hollow, right? Okay, and so you're supposed to return to the planet, right? And Aerith says, those born into this world who lived and who died, who returned, they're howling in pain. There's two reasons they're howling in pain. One, Mako, because we know from Bugenhagen that Mako destroys this spirit energy, just eats it up, and it just doesn't get spit out and reused. It's gone. So your soul gets destroyed. Or, you know, maybe there's another mechanism to it that we'll learn in Rebirth or something where it's like it gets greatly deformed. The other one is maybe you're recruited by Jenova now because she's in the live stream, Sephiroth's in the live stream affecting things. So it could be the case that, you know, these whisper-like creatures, these are the cries of the planet. We heard them and we saw them fly around, and they're howling in pain, maybe because they're unable to return to the planet, or maybe they've just been so deformed and so terrorized in the live stream by this entity that shouldn't be there, Jenova, Sephiroth, you know? And, you know, and also just as a thought, right, like that could be guiding the fate of the planet. That could be guiding it, right? Saying like, this is what the planet wants, but maybe that's not really what the planet wants. So something else to consider there, right? Okay. The other thing I considered when I was looking at the image again of the crack in the heavens there, the fissure in the sky, and Aerith saying, this sky, I don't like it. And when considering the song also being called Empty Sky, and that's what the souls return to before they return to the planet, I was just thinking like, you know, maybe in this reality too, like maybe you actually, you know, it could be the case that like, maybe when someone dies here, they just are like an unconscious body there. Like maybe you can't actually die there, but maybe if you do, right? Maybe if you do that, you disperse and you go up into that like crack there, like it like sucks you into it, you know? And maybe Sephiroth has generated this in a way to harvest spirit energy, right? And maybe that spirit energy, and he says he wants to do that in the original anyway, but just maybe they're going to use, like I said, have greater context for how he's going to be sucking in this spirit energy of souls. And then it made me think about like the crack in the northern crater. Like here's this bright light coming through. Here's this other area that's deep inside the planet, you know, like maybe this crack in the sky is like, you know, inverted, and that's where the worlds are going to merge or whatever is going to happen. I don't know, but it just kind of reminded me of it. So I don't really have a strong theory about like this area here and this piece of the sky, but it just kind of recalled it to me, and I just wanted to point it out. So yeah, I should also tell you that in the text here where it says the world will be saved, but will you? Birds of Play translated that to, are you in the world that will be protected? And remember, Aerith tells us that Sephiroth would say he only cares about the planet, that he'd do everything in his power to protect and preserve it, right?
The world's ending. At least, that's what everyone's saying.
This sky, I don't like it.
Okay, so there's one more look at it. The world's ending, right? We don't like the sky. Here we go. Now let's get into some more stuff here about the future. I needed to go over some of that stuff because I think it pertains to Aerith, you know, and if she's really from the future or not and all that. I think it all plays together. All my videos are go together, right? So check this out. Zack his name has great meaning if you didn't know already. His Zach is short for Zechariah. And Zechariah means memory of the Lord, or God remembers. So the Yah part of Zechariah is like Yahweh or God. So it's so fitting for Final Fantasy VII, like for Cloud's character, you know, for this character, Zach, to be named Zach. So Zach's name means memory or to remember. And look on the screen, I have that image where Cloud speaks Zach's name in the OG, and Tifa says, "You remembered." This is why Final Fantasy VII is so great, by the way, too. It's details like that that show that there's a lot of thought given to everything, you know? And that's why we can do stuff like this and dissect it. So, let's see, what do I have here? Oh, yeah.
Hey! No, not you.
Okay. No, not you. So, I just wanted to show that because that's the scene from the new Rebirth, one of the newer Rebirth trailers. It's kind of reminiscent, too, of this one here. Zack is at the bottom of some steps looking up. Sephiroth is at the top of the steps. He's off screen in this one. And in this one, he's in the bottom of the steps. Sephiroth's at the top of the steps. Sephiroth does slash someone too in this, or with this one over here, and he looks like he tries to slash someone here in this one as well. So a lot of like symmetry there, right? Kind of interesting. Notice Zack doesn't have the Buster Sword in this scene. He is clean too. He doesn't look dirty. So it's like he left the Buster Sword in Elmira's house or something with Marlene. I don't know. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But it also seems like Sephiroth is not allowing Zack to enter the church or something. What's that about? I don't know. So here is something that I wanted to bring to your attention as well. Okay. This, I think, helps with some of my theory about Zack getting sucked into the future. Okay? And his name being memory, I think, is pretty key to that as well. So here's the Aerith resolution scene. Question. And these are from like developers. They're asking him about behind the scenes type stuff, you know, and reading between the lines. So you can't fall in love with me, even if you think you have. It's not real. Aerith says these lines, but what exactly was the intent? Here's Toriyama, who was the co-director of Part 1. At this point in the game, Aerith is physically locked up in the Shinra building. However, through some type of consciousness, she is able to use the live stream to bring forth an Aerith that has memories closest to the future. Okay. Does my Zack idea that he got sucked into the future sound that crazy then? If Aerith can call forth a memory that's closest to the future, an avatar of Aerith who's closest to the future? Here's another scene. The Marlene hugging scene. Okay, when Marlene hugged Aerith, it seemed like she saw something. What exactly happened during that scene? Toriyama, when you come into contact with Aerith, depending on the person's sensitivity, visions start to appear that pass through time and space. Okay? And then he just says, as to what Marlene saw, we'll just have to leave it up to the imagination of the players. All right? And look at Aerith here. Going, shh, like, promise, like, don't tell anyone, okay? Like, don't tell anyone, just be quiet, right? It could be the reason Aerith does that is because she knows the whispers will come around, you know, if they start talking about what they saw. It seems like the whispers can't read your thoughts, but they can hear your words, you know? And look at the symmetry I have here on screen. You have Aerith kneeling down, telling Marlene not to tell. Right? And then you have, in Rebirth now, Zack kneeling down in front of Marlene, and Marlene is telling him, promise not to tell. And look, Aerith has summoned forth visions that pass through time and space, right? Now look at, here's Zack, who has been summoned forth through time and space. Right? His name literally means memory. Okay? And just a quick note on this too. In my Stagnant Reality video, I made a big deal out of these kids who seem to be older, and this was one piece of why I started to look into the idea that Zack could have been sucked into the future. And Marlene doesn't look any older though here, right? So if it is the future that Zack is in, then it's the near future. And these kids aren't really older. It's just their design and like the remake context that made them look older to me. Or, Marlene was dragged into it as well somehow. And that would explain why she hasn't aged at all. But I think it's probably just that this is like more like the near future if they are in the future. Okay? So, this is something else I wanted to point out. Toriyama also says that when Cloud, sheds a tear when he's walking with Aerith in Midgar, it's, he says it's possible that one of the causes of Cloud's tear is because a memory of the future was awakened. Okay, so there's this, there's these memories of the future that can be transported through time and space with a connection through Aerith, right? And then we see Zack, aka whose name is Memory, being transported through time and space, according to my theory, right? And the connection there is also Aerith, if you think about it, because that's who he is trying to find, right? Okay. So let's see here. Let me make sure my music isn't getting in the way. All right.
Whispers. Perhaps best described as arbiters of fate. They are drawn to those who attempt to alter destiny's course and ensure they do not.
Like capital D? Destiny?
The flow of the great river that is the planet, from inception to oblivion.
And you're saying that that flow is fixed?
Yes, for it is the will of the planet itself.
Will of the planet itself. Okay. So, the reason I'm showing this is because Remake tells us that the will of the planet has its own oblivion in mind. Okay? And remember, Sephiroth brings Cloud to the edge of creation to tell him this. Alright? And how does Sephiroth know this? Well, in the OG, he says, I became a traveler of the life stream and gained the knowledge and wisdom of the ancients. Okay? And if Sephiroth has absorbed these whispers, then perhaps he gained the knowledge right then and there, but it seems like he could know it already. So a lot of people seem to think that this knowledge, though, is just the OG. It's just the original game. I don't really think that's the case. I think that this will of the planet from inception to oblivion doesn't mean it's like the OG is there and has happened already and they're redoing everything now to try to get it right. Okay? I think it just means they know Sephiroth wants to save the planet from the oblivion. And look, check this out. This is the Ultimania. All right, the words that are in italics are like the context. Sephiroth says, "I'm waiting, Cloud," and then it says it might sound like Sephiroth is referring to the reunion, but Sephiroth's true intention is that he calls to Cloud to go through the wall, the Whisper Wall, so he can tell Cloud the truth of the fate of the planet. And then listen to Aerith. He'd tell you that he only cares about the planet, that he'd do everything in his power to protect and preserve it, but this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Sephiroth's, and then it says in italics, Sephiroth's way of preserving the planet is to sacrifice those living, but Aerith thinks the planet does not wish for that. So, Sephiroth is like, basically kind of saying, like, I know how to save the planet, right? Because I've seen its inception to its oblivion, and it's going to end, no matter what. And Aerith is going, okay, but we have to follow the will of the planet. Like, I'm a Cetra, right? So I should follow the will of the planet. Can that really be the planet's will? And Aerith is saying, like, yeah, Sephiroth wants to save the planet, but the way he wants to do it isn't correct. I don't think. She doesn't think the planet would want the death of everyone to grant its own fate, right? To carry out its own course of destiny. So Aerith now is questioning the will of the planet as well, you know? So what I'm trying to show here is that you don't have to have this idea of the sequel, you know, just because Sephiroth has future knowledge of the end of the planet and stuff like that. So, now, a little bit more info here about Zack possibly being in the future, okay? So, the lyrics from the new song, I won't say that it was fate, I won't say that it was destiny, but if not, what could it be that drew you towards me? Could it be chance? Till the day that we meet again, where or when, I wish I could say. So, and then she says, you know, when Aerith is singing this, till the day that we meet again in our place, just let me believe in the church, know that you take my hand and never let me down, take my hand and believe we can be together after all. That's a very tragic song, it looks like, it appears to be, because the footage we've seen is she's just unconscious, right? So it seems like Zack finally gets to her, but she's just not awake. She can't wake up. She's in some kind of coma, you know, or she's like dead, and because of the stagnant reality, her body's just there. It won't disperse into the life stream. Maybe not, though, because Marlene says something about how she, like, when she wakes up, right? But anyway, where or when stuck out to me in this, right? Especially when, right? When is Zack? Is he in the future, like I said? Does this song hint at it? Let's see what the voice actress says for Aerith, Brianna White. She doesn't give away anything, but she says something that just kind of made me go, kind of made me perk my eyebrows up. So check it out.
Was so beautiful. That really made me emotional. I think it's a really fitting theme song for the game. I think it is obviously beautiful to listen to, but it is equal parts soft and epic. It has these sort of soft moments and these beautiful, gentle lyrics about love. And about time.
Oh.
But also has these like big, beautiful, emotional swell.
About love and about time, she says. So, you know, and she doesn't give away anything by saying that, because everyone already knows, and the devs have already talked about memories of the future and, you know, all this stuff. But the way she said time, like, hey, time is like, this seems to be a factor, right? So I'm going with, you know, the Zack is in the future type thing, right? Now, and, you know, and I'm sorry that we're taking so long to retread some things here, but like, I think this needs to be said because it all relates to Aerith being from the future, right? So like, just to recap, remember Zack's name means memory, or to remember. And there's this really cool dichotomy happening where in the OG game, right, the past is being recalled incorrectly. That's kind of like one of the main things, right? And in Remake, it's possible that the future is being recalled incorrectly. And it's like a false future or something that is trying to become reality. It's a really strange thing, I know, and it sounds like I'm just, just making up stuff, but I can see that dichotomy happening where it could just be that one of the twists of Rebirth will be to try to show you the future, and you're not going to know if that's really the future or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we've been given glimpse of Meteor already. Meteor, right? Is that really our future? We've been given glimpse of Zack's world here. Is that really the future? Is that how it's supposed to happen? And that's just the inverse of what the OG did, which was we were told the past, and then we doubt what that past is. We're doubting what the future is, right? So does that make more sense why I'm talking about it that way? Let me just double check my music here. Okay, let's play something else here. So now let's get into Aerith in the future. All right, we've talked about the future. We've talked about the stagnant reality and how that's important for the future. Here's Aerith. She knows the future, right?
Honestly, I'm much more worried about you. What if you get lost, huh? You'd be too embarrassed to admit it, and so you'd just keep on going.
Quit acting like you know me.
Wow.
You don't know who Sephiroth is, do you?
Sephiroth, the war hero? I know he died in an accident 5 years ago. They said so on the news.
Maybe they did. But I've got a feeling he's still alive.
Oh, right.
Right.
Come on, let's go. It won't be much longer now. The flowers, they have something important to tell us. Something they need to share with us. At least, that's the feeling I get. But before they can, there's a final step that has to be taken. Otherwise, we won't hear them. Maybe I should just give up.
Sounds like she's from the future, right?
Honestly, it's what I do best.
Could have fooled me. From what I've seen, you're no quitter.
Well, today's special. That's why I've been working my butt off.
What's so special about it?
Okay, time to go.
Okay, and there's tons of examples, right? Of Aerith just saying things before they're said to her, like completing Tifa's sentence about Marlene. There's all kinds of stuff like that, where it's just like, she's apparently just from the future. She knows all this stuff already, right? Okay. So, I would like to offer some counter evidence to that. All right, so check it out. Here is Tifa looking at Aerith.
What now?
What now? Here's Aerith. I don't know. Okay, so Aerith, she's just like, I friggin' don't know. So you could argue that, well, we defeated the Harbinger, so now Aerith is like, I just talked about how we could be changing ourselves. It's boundless, terrifying freedom. I can't really say what's going to happen. Right? Okay, fine. But right there, she doesn't really know. Okay, what about this scene? Right here.
It's like the whole damn building's made of them.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, Aerith, no idea. She's just like, I don't know what these things are or what they're doing there. Okay. Here's another one.
Destiny's Crossroads.
Then why did you stop me?
I'm not really sure.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know why she stopped Cloud for a second. She knows this is an important pivotal moment. She knows this is Destiny's Crossroads, but she doesn't know why she's exactly going down this path now of maybe we have to defy the planet's will as well and forge our own destiny, kind of like Sephiroth's doing. It's like she doesn't really know. All right. So, what about this? Vision of the future.
What the hell did I just see?
Aerith defers to Red 13.
A glimpse of tomorrow if we fail here today.
And then looks around as if, what does that mean? Right? So Aerith is like, looks at Red 13, kind of like, can you shed some light on that, please? She doesn't know. Okay? And you could maybe argue, well, that's too far into the future for her to know about? Okay. How about this?
Fools, leave, away, begone. You cannot change it. Can you not see your future?
What? Can you not see your future? Sephiroth says that to Aerith when you're fighting him in the Singularity. Can you not see your future? All right. How about this?
But they'll try to take it anyway, won't they? Greedy bastards will never stop. Okay, new plan. Y'all take Aerith and get the hell out of here. Me, I'm gonna go bust some Shinra heads.
Barrett, wait. You can't do that.
Look, so she starts to want to say, wait, you're not supposed to do that. Because it's like, she knows that that's not the way the events are supposed to go. And before she can say it, the Whispers try to stop her.
Oh, great. These assholes again.
Okay.
Probably some Shinra science experiment.
Whispers.
Right. So, Aerith is like about to tell him, and then she sees the Whispers approaching, and it stops her. She kind of knows that if she starts just divulging stuff, they swirl around her, you know, and take parts of herself, as she says later. Now, okay, so here's my question, right? Here's my question. If that's the case and we've defeated the Harbinger, right, going into Rebirth, and the Whispers are still around, but it doesn't seem like they're as capable, or they are under someone else's control now. But just look, if this is the case, we've defeated the Harbinger, why doesn't Aerith just come out with it now, right? Look at how she reacts in the Rebirth footage here. Check this out.
Wow. Just look at it all. It's so green. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
And then
it may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Okay, so Red 13, once again, he offers some insight and corrects her. He corrects her. She goes, so if she's from the future, shouldn't she walk out of there into that open wilderness and be like, oh yeah, I've seen this before? No, but she's like completely blown away by this, right? She's like, wow, like look at this. It's her first time. It's like her first time experiencing it. So, what's that about? How can she be from the future if she has to defer to Red 13 for insight? She doesn't know what the Whispers are, what they're doing. She's not sure why she stopped Cloud. She's never seen the wilderness before. Do you see the picture I'm painting here? Let me show you the OG here. Aerith, at least it should be. I feel it. It feels like I'm being led by something. All right, here's this scene.
I'm lost in a maze, and every step is taking me further from the path. Every time the Whispers touch me, I lose something, a part of myself. Follow them, the yellow flowers.
Look.
It's okay. We'll find a way out together.
Yeah, so look at that. As she's trying to recall something that was seemingly told to her, follow them, the yellow flowers. That seems like a message possibly from the future, right? She was given this guidance to follow the yellow flowers. And then the Whisper starts surrounding her like, oh, you shouldn't know that. Like, they don't want her to know that for some reason. And in the OG, she says that she's being led by something. And here she says, it feels like I'm being taken further from the path. So there is some kind of thing leading her in Remake that's similar to the OG. You're never told exactly what it is in the OG, but you can assume it's something like the consciousness of the ancients in the planet or something like that. Or maybe it's even her mother's soul, because she mentions how her mother has returned to the planet when she's a kid and that she's always with her because of that. So, it could be something like that. But the point is, Aerith knows the future, but she doesn't at the same time, and she isn't always allowed to divulge it even. It's like, and then why doesn't she just divulge it once the Whispers are gone? Like, it really seems like there should be more of her being like, okay, here's the deal. I couldn't say it before, but I can say it now, right? It's not happening, though. We're not seeing that. Here's something else. Aerith believes the future.
But what if Corneo really was telling
Or
the
here's,
truth?
sorry, this is conflicting. This is what's conflicting, right? Here's Aerith succumbing to the events, that, like, basically succumbing to the idea that fate is unchangeable. Watch.
We have to get there in time to stop it. We have to.
Right.
Right.
Aerith, what are you not telling me?
Huh?
Huh? She's like, right.
Guys.
Yeah, right. We can't. And she says it like that because she's like, we can't stop it. We can't stop it. But then, look at this line I have in this picture. The future is always a blank page.
We can do this. We can. We can change it. Make it right.
So now she's saying, so she goes against it, right? By the end, right? She's like, right, there's nothing we can really do about it. And earlier in the sewers, I think I forgot to put this in, but she does say, the future is not set in stone. At least that's always what I tell myself. Like, almost like as a comfort to herself. But here she says the future is always a blank page. And she says that in the singularity as if it's some kind of axiom that she's just, always believed. The future is always a blank page, which makes me think that she thinks the will of the planet is wrong or been hijacked somehow, you know? And now it's going to be the battle of her plan, you know, with Cloud and them to save the planet versus Sephiroth's plan to save the planet. Everyone's trying to save the planet, right? In their own way. So, and it doesn't really sound like, to me, that Aerith is from the future when you consider these things. Now, here's this. This is from one of the early Rebirth trailers. Do I have it on here?
If liking the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that we can bear witness to what is shaping up to become the next golden age of the
This is from Birds of Play. They do, some of their videos have lots of translations from the
Final Fantasy series together. I'll see you on the other side.
悲しみや怒りは私たちを強くするけど私たちを変えてしまう過去じゃなくて未来を思えば
Okay, right? So what we've done, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past. Right. And the Japanese translation says, stuff like sadness and anger makes us strong, but it also ends up changing us. Instead of the past, think about the future. Really different, except for the last line. But, you know, it's like, if Aerith is from the future, like, what is she talking about? The past is set in stone? Like, if she's really from the future, then didn't she go into the past to try to change stuff? And it's not set in stone? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't really make sense. All right, let's get a little bit more context for this. This is from a tweet. It's in Japanese. Somebody translated it. And they're asking about when Aerith says that she is... Oh, it's when Aerith is talking to Cloud in the church in front of Reno, okay? She calls him a mercenary or a jack of all trades in Japanese. And it says, in FF7 Remake, Aerith possesses vague memories that she shouldn't have of future events that haven't happened yet. Because of this, she knows some things about Cloud and the others before meeting them. Okay, so, like, do you see that right there? That doesn't scream Aerith is from the future, right? It doesn't at all. It just means that she's been given some kind of message or memory that's spilled over for some reason. We're not exactly sure yet, right? Okay. And I just love this image that I just put up here. Very savior-like. Great. This is in the game, dude. Like, this is in the game. All right. So, let's talk about this, you know, these future messages and stuff like that a little bit more. Someone commented, Raven Orion, my assumption since I first played through Final Fantasy VII is that by killing Sephiroth in the crater and dumping him into the life stream, it allowed the Genova cells, which have already been established to be able to mess with memory, to infect the life stream and thus alter history via the planet's memory. Yeah. Okay. It's already official that the original FF7 is technically the bad ending, so the remake is a sequel that happens along the same flow of events with the goal being the good ending. And I said, that all makes sense. Okay, but it is unclear if having future sight means direct sequel or expansion on the themes of fate, right? So now here's an example I have. And look, Sephiroth himself says this.
Careful now. That which lies ahead does not yet exist.
That which lies ahead does not yet exist. So, it's like the future hasn't happened yet or something? Or maybe the OG hasn't fully happened yet? I don't know. It's really hard to say. But what I can say is that there are other stories where the future hasn't happened yet, but we get memories of them or visions of them or premonitions of them. Okay? So, and it doesn't mean that they're like a sequel. Okay? So check this out. I have in the corner here Anakin Skywalker from the prequel Star Wars, you know? And he is having a nightmare of his love dying. Okay? And this propels him to seek out the dark side of the Force, which has the ability to prevent death. All right? Now, who planted or what planted that vision in his mind? It's not clear in the story of the Star Wars movie, but you could assume that this vision is a self-fulfilling prophecy planted in his mind by the Emperor, by the evil bad guy, right? And because Anakin is so clouded in his judgment, and because he's gone against the Jedi Code and all that, and he has been lying to everyone, he has to find a way to save her outside of the means of help from his friends. Okay? So he's given a vision of the future, which seems to be a premonition, but it could just be an idea. And then that idea becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, all right? Because he tries to, act against it. The same thing could be said about something like Meteor, okay? Meteor, as we know, is in the murals of the Temple of the Ancients, and we know Sephiroth is a traveler of the life stream into the past. And it could be the case that he is using this image and memory of Meteor to show us the thing he wants us to accomplish. We think, oh no, we've seen Meteor, now we got to prevent it. And it could just be that this just plays right into Sephiroth's hand, right? Also, it also helps the audience because we get to jump on the info dump. Wow, right? This is so newcomers to the story aren't thinking, okay, there's a Meteor now? Like, what? Right? So that's what happens in the OG game at Temple of the Ancients. It's just like, oh, by the way, there's a Meteor now. We have more context now. Here's another great example right here. I love this. This is in the Matrix, the first Matrix movie.
I know you're Neo. Be right with you.
She says, I know you're Neo. Be right with you. So she already establishes that she knows the future, basically. She's like, I know you're Neo. I'll be right with you. Of something could be its cause, right? It doesn't mean that that was inevitably going to happen all the time. You see? Just still have broken it if I hadn't said anything. Right. So, you can plant ideas in people's heads and maybe they'll fulfill this for you then. Maybe that's what Sephiroth's doing. Maybe that's what Genova's doing by showing us Meteor early. It's a possibility. And I'm showing it because I'm showing you this example and the Star Wars example because it's like those are stories that don't have like an original that they're referring to, and that could be how you could conceive of the remake in a way. An example of this too is like, if I tell you, do not think of pink elephants. Did your mind just flash to a pink elephant when I said that? I told you not to think of them, right? So you can see how, like, you can manipulate what people are thinking about by saying certain things, and you can see their actions play out afterwards. And if you're really manipulative, you could do that to get certain outcomes. So, okay, let's see. What else? I have another example here as well. If you've ever seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, it's a sci-fi movie about a system in place against crime, and they have these things, these entities that are these special people who are precogs. They have precognition or premonitions, and they're able to determine who will commit a crime before it happens, and they can arrest those people before it happens. It doesn't mean that it's a time loop. It doesn't mean that there was an original that they've already experienced and that's what they're recalling. It just means they have visions of the future for whatever reason, and then they are acting on this. And it's a commentary in a way on the ideas of free will and fate. Okay? And I think the movie does a good job of it, by the way. So this could be one way of conceiving of the original game as the bad ending, and that's why it's a sequel. Maybe it's not the bad ending, so to speak. Maybe it hasn't happened already in terms of the remake universe. Perhaps the original is being used to create tension in the story by giving us more context, giving us these premonitions, so that it's something that we are like working against and towards at the same time. Does that make sense? And so that would mean that like Aerith is not like from the future, and that she's not from the original game continuity. You get that? So the source of all knowledge, of all future knowledge, matters, right? The source, like who is giving it to you or what, and how the characters act with that knowledge could work for or against them. And I showed 3 other stories that show premonition, which are self-contained stories, not sequels to an original continuity. So I've shown here there is doubt about Aerith being directly from the future. I think pretty serious doubt. But I think these future memories that are being passed through to us are warnings from the future Aerith in the stagnant reality. Everyone assumes the future Aerith is from the OG timeline, but Red 13 tells us that this is the will of the planet, and Aerith defers to Red 13 at times for his interpretation. It could be the case that Aerith in Beagle continuity believes she is following the planet's will, but discovers the planet has been compromised. She has to save it from itself. That kind of tracks with just how she is reacting to the highway scene. And she's like, I'm not really sure, like, you know, and then she like turns to everyone and is like, look, he's the bad guy. We are going to change ourselves, okay, by doing this. You know, we're not only going to change fate, we're going to change ourselves. And she's like, I'm going to go on a gamble here. And I think that the will of the planet is now compromised. You know, that's kind of what I'm seeing happen here. And it's not because she is from the future and knows everything already. I think it's because she's been giving glimpses and messages from a future, and she thinks she's following the will of the planet, but then she's second guessing that now, okay? Now, there's this one thing I wanted to bring up that I really wish I had something awesome for this, but it's just, I couldn't really work anything out with this. And this is what I'm talking about here. Look, the wooden cross. It's in OG. It's in the Zack Reality and Remake. It's in Crisis Core PSP version. And then it's not in Crisis Core Reunion. And it's not in Beagle Continuity or whatever. Beagle World. So, what to make of that then? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense why it's there and why it's not in some things. Could be a design flaw. Really could be. I wish I had something better than that. I was trying to come up with some kind of theory about, you know, perhaps one of these continuities is the, you know, continuity where Aerith doesn't have a prayer for holy. And so there's like no sacrifice. And the cross is a symbol of sacrifice, you know, and perhaps maybe if it's there or not could cue you in on that or clue you in on that. But it's really just so inconsistent between these games that I don't think I can really use that for much. But it was just an interesting thought. So, let me just go through now the common theory, what I'm calling the common theory, what I think the majority of people are probably subscribing to. And let me just contrast that with what, I think is kind of happening here. Just going into Rebirth, right? And this is kind of the stuff that I'll be thinking about when I play the game. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. It doesn't mean I have to be right. Doesn't mean I am right. Could be wrong. But here we go. Here's the common theory first. The original timeline happened. Sephiroth lost. He comes back in Advent Children, corrupts the life stream with geostigma, and vanishes into the past and starts changing things, which activates a failsafe planetary weapon, the Harbinger. We destroy it. This allows Sephiroth a retry at his plan this time around in Remake. There are two timelines, as distinguished by the Beagle and Terrier stamp mascots, that are the result of fate being unable to correct everything. The merging of these timelines is somehow integral to the reunion in Sephiroth's plan. Aerith has gone back in time from the holy event and awakened in Remake. And I have on the screen here the image of her. That's her at the end of the OG, and that's her at the beginning of the Remake. Like she closes her eyes, closes her eyes here, opens them again. She's back here again. And the other image is Sephiroth and Advent Children saying, "I'll never be a memory." Right. So this, I think, is probably the most common theory that most people would subscribe to right now. And as I have shown, it doesn't really. The part that doesn't make a lot of sense is that Aerith is from the future of the original continuity, like the original game's continuity, that she's just from the future. It doesn't really make sense, And I did show that Sephiroth, the future he seems to know is the fate of the planet. And that's what he wants to tell Cloud about in the Edge of Creation. And he wants to tell Cloud about that because then he can show Cloud a new fate for the planet that he has in mind, that he is creating, right? Where people don't have to die and things don't have to end. So I think one of my other big problems with the common theory is this idea that Sephiroth is doing a retry and Aerith as well. Like a redo, New Game Plus. If that's the case, like I said before, why doesn't Aerith just start divulging everything once the Whispers are gone? And you could say, like, well, the Whispers' contact makes her forget stuff. Like, okay, it's convenient. But also, Sephiroth is so powerful, I just don't see how this is going to make a lot of sense for the story to have him know everything from the original continuity. It just is like, it's too much. It's like you're making him too powerful, actually, at this point, to know everything that's already happened in the original game and his own fate and everything. It's a little, I feel like it stretches it too much. It's hard to accept that. Not saying it's not, it could be something like that, right? But I'm just saying I don't like that much. And it also makes me wonder why we'd go through the trouble of, seeing all of our characters' moments and stories and backstories again when really it's like, this is all just a sequel. So that's one of my big hangups on it. And maybe that is exactly what's happening. And maybe that's exactly why the Beagle and Terrier timeline are there. The Beagle could just be, this is the OG timeline, like remade, like the remake that everyone wanted. And the Terrier timeline is the new stuff. And then they're going to merge, just like everyone said. That could possibly totally be it. And that's fine, or whatever. So here's, in contrast to the common theory, here's what my theory is, just going into Rebirth, okay? And I just want to share it. My theory. The original game is the will of the planet. It did not happen already. Sephiroth knows of the inevitable end of the planet, having traveled the lifestream and visiting the edge of creation, but not about Cloud defeating him. Sephiroth meddling with fate is not meant to thwart the original game's timeline, but to give him the opportunity to create the future as he sees fit, free from the will of the planet and the nature of the life stream, so he can create stagnation. The Zack reality is in the future. Here, the life stream is disrupted or stagnant. This place suits Sephiroth's endgame of not ending and creating the future, as I've talked about in my other videos. Aerith is sending messages to herself from this future. Cloud never joins, the party gets nowhere, and consequently, Aerith cannot pray for holy there. Is it a separate reality, or will our party catch up to this future? I don't know. Okay? But that's kind of what my framework is going into Rebirth. When I see Zack, in Rebirth, I'm going to be thinking, okay, like, is he in the future? Does the life stream work the way it's supposed to here? That's what I'm going to be thinking about. And the glimpses of the future, I think, and messages that Aerith gets from someone aren't necessarily her just going back in time, right? It's Terrier timeline or Terrier reality, Zack's reality, the Aerith from there who has sent back messages to try to get herself and Cloud and them to rally together against fate and destiny. That's kind of what I think is more so happening. And, at the end of the day, it's kind of just like you could just take your pick, right? Like any of those could work, right? But there is a nuance to them if you really go back and have me and reread these, re-listen to me reading these theories. So, whether or not you agree with my theory, at least you have more information to come to your own conclusion. All right. And so also, I particularly think this is kind of great, though. So the creators, they want you to doubt your own understanding of the game, just like Cloud. They want you to doubt your understanding of the story, right? Cloud in the original game had a misconception of his past, and we have a misconception of the future. It's kind of genius, I think. And, whether it's my theory or the common theory, they both work in this regard. You see? Conflicting memories of the past and future, and we don't know what is fact and what is fiction. Excellent. Absolutely excellent in my mind that they are able to retain that kind of feeling from the original in this way. Okay? So now to close, I'm just going to be showing you some of these developer comments and interviews, okay? I think now that I've gone through these 3 videos, I think it'd be worth looking at some of these. So someone quoted on my video and said, "We never wanted to remake the game. We always preferred to make something new." And he said, "So why the F didn't they just make a new game?" All right. Here's one of the devs. Before the release of Episode Intermission, the Yuffie DLC, it was unclear if the likes of Advent Children, Dirge of Cerberus, and the range of other Final Fantasy VII material was considered canonical in the remake's universe. Toriyama confirmed that this is definitely the case, describing the remake project as a coming together of sorts for over 20 years of adventures. "I want to make it so fans who know the original game and the different Final Fantasy VII universe titles can look forward to seeing how they all relate and join up with each other, while at the same time communicating how deep and amazing the world and characters of Final Fantasy VII are to newcomers who will not have seen any of them. Remake is based on the original, but is being made after all of those additions to the universe, so we want to take advantage of that and are planning it out as a kind of coming together of all the works set in the Final Fantasy VII universe to date." Okay. So, is it a remake or is it a sequel? Is it amalgamation of the compilation? A reimagination? Remember I said that before in my other videos. What does this sound like to you? Additionally, they also said, Toriyama Toriyama stresses that they aren't making a completely different game. And when it comes to major characters and plot revelations, the team will draw the line to ensure core elements and iconic moments are accurately recreated. Okay? If we follow the remake story, then the next installment might have major changes compared to the original, right? Says the questioner. Katase, I've talked about this extensively with Nomura, but I'm sure fans of the original are expecting to revisit familiar locations and scenes. So we have strong feelings to not stray away from that. From here on out, we're not drastically changing the story and making it into something completely different than the original. Even though it's a remake, please assume that Final Fantasy VII will still be Final Fantasy VII as usual. Nojima says, for me, I create scenarios that follow the general flow of the original story, but with the assumption that the way things are presented or how events occur might be slightly different. Okay, so that was like in 2020. All right, was that all just damage control? You think? I don't really think so. And this last quote is just them talking about how they had to break it up at Midgar. Nomura saying like, it was just a good point in the story to break it up, because if we would have put everything together all at one game, there's no way we would have been able to do it. That's basically what he's talking about. And then Katase even says, things just spiral further and further, and the release date does as well. It's just never ending. So like basically they're saying like, look, we had to break it up in order to do the remake in this scale. We had to stop at Midgar. It's a natural ending point and break point in the story. And that's why we had to go forward with a trilogy. And that was in response, and that's my response to people who keep telling me that they're milking Final Fantasy VII and that they should have made one game. It's like, dude, have you seen Rebirth, man? It's like 100 times what Remake is, And it's only because they had that foundation with Remake that they could even make Rebirth, and actually released Remake. You have to like release something to do the next thing. You can't just conceive of all of it and do it all, in one go. The game never would have came out. So thank you for checking out this video on Aerith, if she's really from the future or not. You know where I stand on it. You know what I think going into Rebirth. Maybe I'll talk some more about the demo or something if I have time. But just wanted to get this video out there for you. And what did you think about President Shinra foreshadowing a stagnant world? Kind of interesting, right? Thank you. Like, subscribe, and comment, please. I read all the comments and stuff, as much as I can. And I'm very, very much looking forward to Rebirth to see, what is going to happen. Just can't wait. And please, no spoilers, people, no leaks. No leaks, please. If anyone knows about any of that, please do not put those in the comments or videos or anything. That would be really, really terrible. All right. Thank you very much, and bye.